It is a pleasure to share this time and space with you, Bashar.
And you as well. Good day.
Thank you. So, I understand that my outer reality is a direct reflection of my inner reality. Is that correct?
It is, but what you see on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that it's an absolute one-to-one reflection of things or issues that you have to necessarily pay attention to the same degree that someone else might, who might be sharing a similar reality with you. In other words, it's an orchestration, and sometimes when you interact with things, situations, circumstances, people, objects, what have you, there may be an orchestrational reason for you to be there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what someone else is experiencing is exactly what you need to work on. Okay. You may just be there for them to support them in their ability to work on it too. But you have to have an honest self-assessment as to what it is that's actually there for you. Nevertheless, it's still a reflection because you're willing to be part of that orchestration. So it reveals that to you, if nothing else.
So my reflection and reality, if it will, has been telling me some different things lately that I would like some clarification
with. All right,
with.
such as?
The globe being round or flat.
Yes, well, you know the globe is round.
Okay.
Why would you assume that it's flat?
I assume that it's flat because of the eye test. I don't feel like we're spinning. I don't.
So what?
It made more sense for it to be flat in my
Not
estimation.
really. Not when you understand how things work, it doesn't.
Okay.
So the flatness idea comes from and is real on another dimensional level,
right?
The holographic level that projects information that needs no dimension into the idea of realities that then are expressed dimensionally. Okay. So in that context, the Earth is both flat and a globe. But in your physical dimension, it's experienced as a globe.
Thank you.
It's another dimension that experiences it at flat. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does. So in this lifetime, do I go from one to another?
Well,
from
you
the flat
exist
to the
in
globe?
all of them.
Okay.
Versions of you exist in all of them.
Right.
So you may be cross-connecting to that, and that's why you're wondering whether it's flat or round.
Right.
But in this third density reality, it's expressed as a globe. But you also are aware of the fact that in another dimension, it's expressed as flat information.
Okay. So another thing that has been in my reality lately is the cloning centers have been popping up, and I've been finding out more information on that. Is that a true statement? The Donald Marshall has been coming out with the cloning centers?
Not as much as you think.
Okay.
There are some experiments on your planet with regard to this process, but not as much as you think, and not always in the way that many people assume it to be being used.
Okay. So the information coming through Donald Marshall isn't necessarily correct?
It's an interpretation that is correct for one particular reality, and you have to decide whether that's the reality you prefer or whether you prefer another.
Okay.
Remember,
I kind of prefer none.
All things you can imagine are somewhere happening.
Right.
You cannot imagine non-existence.
Right.
Therefore, it's just an issue of, is that the reality you prefer when it's being offered to you?
Right.
If not, then go in a different direction.
Okay. I found myself saying the other day that I had hybrid children, and I didn't even know where that came from coming out of my mouth. Could you
Probably came from one of the hybrid children.
Could you elaborate on that for me, please?
Well, you understand the hybridization agenda, yes?
No, very little.
All right. Well, you understand that beings that you typically refer to on average as the gray beings, you're familiar with this?
Yes.
Conducted a hybridization program because they were really originally humans from a parallel version of Earth that destroyed their world and mutated themselves into the beings you understand as the grays.
Right.
Not being able to any longer reproduce, they realized that the only way to save their civilization was to find a viable source of human DNA, and that means they had to tunnel into parallel realities, such as yours, where humans still exist in their original form, thus taking genetic material, blending it with their own and a few other things, and creating the hybrids of which my civilization is one offshoot. And there are other children still existing in a variety of ways that are more contemporary with your civilization that will ultimately come and live among you. Thus, beginning the transformation of your world into what we typically refer to as the sixth hybrid race, because there are already 5 others.
So in our ascension, we all have different timelines for this, or are we all going together?
The ones that decide to be of a similar vibration will experience themselves going together. The ones that have different timelines will not.
Okay, it's that easy.
It's that easy.
All right. And since all our realities are just reflections, can our inner world affect changes like the election and like the upcoming changes?
Again, yes, but it's not that you're changing the world you're in.
Right.
It's that you're shifting to a world that already has those expressions as a reflection of the change in energy you've made within yourself. But remember, you have also made agreements to share some of this and go through certain processes with other people in order to learn things, in order to grow from it. And one of the things you learn is more readily how to shift to realities that are already in existence that are more reflective of what you prefer, by being in a reality that is reflective of what you don't prefer.
Makes sense.
It does. That's why I said it.
So when I am following my highest excitement, sometimes I fight the feeling of I'm not working hard enough, I'm being lazy, and then I have to balance that out.
Again, remember that it's all about letting go of beliefs that are out of alignment with that vibration.
Right.
But one of the things excitement does is bring those things up to your attention that you may be holding on to that you didn't know about. So if you are acting on your excitement and suddenly you find that there is a negative feeling, a negative experience, a negative belief within you, then excitement is doing its job by revealing that to you so you can let it go and add the energy to your excitement. So in other words, whenever your excitement brings up something within you that you don't prefer, get excited about the fact that it did that.
Okay.
That's part of the excitement process. Because then once you're consciously aware of it, you have something to work with. You have something to let go of. Okay. If it remains unknown, then you can't do anything about it.
Right.
So that's part of the process.
And how do I lay that down?
Lay it down?
Yes. How do I lay that down, that feeling, that
when
negative
you allow
feeling
yourself to actually consciously identify the belief that's out of alignment with you,
yes,
the moment you truly access it and truly consciously identify it, it will automatically and immediately appear nonsensical and illogical. And as soon as it does, it's gone.
Okay.
That's the end of the process.
Right.
Because if you really actually see it as nonsensical and illogical, there is no reason to hold on to it. If you are still holding on to it in your behavior, then there's another belief you haven't found that says you must. Find that one. Keep digging.
Understand.
Does that help?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sir. Oh, so formal. All right.
I was led to get some numbers on my arm that I was told would help me to remember my own frequency. Can you please expound on that?
What numbers are you talking about?
I have a tattoo that says 92.78 on my arm.
92.78.
Yes, sir. And I have no idea where that came from.
One moment.
Thank you.
All right. You understand that your quote-unquote average normal temperature of your human body, 98.6, yes?
Yes, sir.
You don't have to keep calling me sir, but I appreciate
yes,
it.
Bashar.
When you are shifted, you remember when we talked about the idea that there is a version of physical reality that's slightly out of phase with yours?
Okay.
And in which many encounters actually happen?
Yes.
Because they can't really happen in your reality because of the vibrational difference, but they can happen in that reality. That's your body temperature in that reality. Because that is the difference of the shift.
I understand.
So, does that help you?
That does help. Why was I led to get that?
Because it reminds you of how to tap into the idea of that reality. And thus, it makes the shift easier.
Okay.
You have, in other words, a target to shoot for.
Right.
A target temperature
right.
that tells you when you're in that state, when you're in that reality vibration.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I was told I had, by the same, what I felt like entity, I was told that I had a treasure waiting for me.
You do. It's inside. Go find it. You are the treasure.
Yes.
The opening of yourself is the treasure.
Right. Okay.
So, have fun on your treasure hunt.
Namaste, Bashar.
Thank you, sir. Good day.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So my first two questions were about multiple personality disorder and our relationship to time. We had previously discussed, and I've had a lot of help from you in the experience that our multiple personality disorder is also expressed in our cultures.
Yes.
In the warring nations, borders, boundaries, agreements.
That the entire collective consciousness, because of all the division within the individuals, your entire collective world has multiple personality disorder.
And that is a macrocosmic expression of our own internal multiple personality disorder.
Yes.
Now, this multiple personality order, what comes to mind based on what you've shared previously and today is this Planck time constant that this external reality, this physical expression that's reflected happening 10 to the 43 times per second.
Yes.
It makes sense that when you say circumstances don't matter, only state of being matters. So that vibration of excitement, for us to put intellect in between, well, this is what I'm experiencing, so I need to understand this and intellectualize it. So
but do you also pick up on the double entendre in that sentence?
Yes, circumstances don't matter, create matter or physical structure in our reality.
But state of being does.
Yes, so along that line...
Yes, or plane, or cube, or hypercube.
So when you were talking about SIBO being a 12-sided dice...
SIBO is 13, but it is played with a 12-sided die.
Excellent.
Dice is plural.
Thank you. So the die would be an icosahedron, I assume.
Yes.
So I've, in our experiences, had many information and understandings about the icosahedron. I've seen it as being water. I've done techniques that utilize that to align my energy. Do you have additional information at this time that was previously unavailable?
No.
Okay.
Except to play the game.
I would look forward to it, absolutely.
All right. We will look backwards to it.
Now, when you shared that in the initial, you changed the video for the contact crystal, and one thing that was shared...
I didn't change it.
Well, you had some to do with it. But okay, so in this joint venture of changing the contact crystal video, as experienced, you shared that Esasani was created for your society, was prepared for you.
Yes.
Now that includes the 3 supercomputers that are now orbiting Esasani, Epsilon, Epiphany, Eclipse, that were created by us or humans?
No.
They
were created by the Greys.
So the Greys created the supercomputers that are focused or lensed through the moon.
Yes.
Now how...
But it goes through the Esasani vibration.
Can you expand on that, the Esasani vibration?
Well, you know that the frequency connects to the idea of your moon being used as a lens to send that vibration to your world.
Yes.
But it's coming through the Esasani hybrid vibration, not the Grey vibration. Because we are now the occupants of the planet.
Okay.
So it's coming through our collective field.
So that agenda or that expression through Esasani would also be underneath the primary overseers or those mantis beings, because that would be part of the overall hybridization agenda?
No.
Okay, so
different thing.
So the mantis beings are only a part of the hybridization agenda as it pertains to humans, per se.
As it pertains to the creation of the hybrids, but the idea is that phase is done. Therefore, there is no need anymore for the mantises to do the same thing. So they have taken a different role. So no, I won't tell you what that is.
Oh, right. Okay.
It will come.
Okay, wonderful news. A parallel simultaneous incarnation that I have with Esasani, and more specifically your consciousness, is something that's become more and more interested with the idea of first contact specialists, the contact crystal I drew, that exact sigil 5 years before I met you.
You're a 12-year-old child on the southern continent of Esasani.
Okay.
That's your connection right now.
Thank you. That's helpful. Oh boy.
Yes.
12-year-old boy.
A boy, yes.
You had previously also discussed the idea of, for me to do research into Hecate, or a previous version or older version of Anu.
Yes.
in the Gwythonic or Celtic tradition.
Yes.
Now, I've since researched that it's understood with 3 heads. So the positive, negative, neutral, that triad, the
All right, very
triumvirate,
good.
that information is definitely prevalent in that. Is there
Keep digging.
is there any other
Keep
clues?
digging.
Keep digging. Well, the previous question, the woman was talking about the ET Pharaoh energy.
Yes.
And that other hybridization agenda. Is there a connection there? Is there something else that's being unfolded in that understanding through that
We are allowed to
consciousness?
say yes,
Okay.
but that's all we're allowed to say.
Okay, that's useful. When we become the 6th generation of hybrid children, you've also discussed that happens at a time where the 6th genetic marker is activated within our DNA.
Yes.
So then the 7th genetic marker being activated
When
is that
all the 6 hybrid races blend to form the 7th hybrid race.
leads to, and is at the same timing of the 7th genetic marker being activated.
In 1,000 years.
Thank you. And then SIBO being around 13 and there being 13 genetic markers as well as 13 skulls.
Yes.
What is the timing and or what would unfold as the 13th genetic marker or the last of the genetic markers?
That takes place on higher levels of dimensionality that you know nothing about right now.
Okay, so that's a different dimension. So that's past our DNA
It's
would
past
be
your physical reality.
above 333 kilohertz.
Yes.
Interesting.
Will
Okay.
that do?
What is my frequency currently in this?
At this particular moment?
Yes.
127,000 cycles per second, approximately, and sometimes shifting around to about 140. But it depends.
What I'm putting out. Got it. Okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Holy smokes, Bashar.
Holy cow.
I just want to say thanks to Kate. I had some more questions, evidently, I was supposed to ask you. And one of them is, I seem to see gold ships a lot. And I'm
Yes.
wondering if you could I have a feeling of who it possibly be, but I was wondering if you might be able to tell me more about those gold ships.
Again, the idea is that many of your senses, as you explore consciousness, are becoming more sensitive to seeing what's actually all around you all the time that is heretofore invisible to you. So it's a stretching of the senses. There is some Pleiadian and Arcturian energy in that, what you're seeing.
That's what I thought too. Are the Yael present much when I'm doing my ET contact groups?
Sometimes, not always.
All right.
Sometimes there are others peeking in.
Nice, nice. I have a question. My mom was always in fear of ETs. I've always been really into them since I was little
Yeah.
in that experience. And she was in fear of it, and we came to the conclusion that
She's had her own experiences.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was that...
It often happens in family lines, you know.
Definitely, definitely. Was there a period, because I had a vision when I actually was having the collapse of my life in such a positive, good way, that changed my life.
Yes.
I had a vision of me standing around my mom as an astro being, looking at her on a table,
Yes.
and me actually going into the fetus.
Well, again, yes, you can have these kinds of perspectives from a quasi-linear, quasi-temporal, quasi-physical perspective of some of the things that are going on, and can see it sometimes from multiple points of view.
Okay. Did they do? Did they do anything to marker me or enhance me as a hybrid Earth human?
Again, all that needs to be done is a slight adjustment of some of the genetic markers within your DNA.
Okay, so was there music involved?
There were vibrations involved that you may translate as music, but not literally in the way that you mean music.
Okay. All right. I have a question. Jesus, was he the Prince of Odessa? Jesus. There's a tale about Jesus actually being the grandson of Cleopatra.
No.
Okay. That's interesting.
Not that Yeshua, not the one that is connected to what most of you consider to be your true history, but in a parallel reality, yes,
Okay.
but not the one that you're concerned with now.
I was wondering if you could fill me in a little bit more about maybe how the skull on the Grand Mesa was created.
Fill you in with what?
Just an
Rocks?
yes. Well, I've explored up there and I've looked at the eyes. It's actually anatomically correct.
Yes.
So there's either energy work or something possible.
Someone else's job to give you that information, not ours.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Fairies, do they exist?
They do, but again, in another dimension that some people are sensitive to seeing and others are not. Eventually, as you expand your consciousnesses, you'll be able to interact more fully with what you might call the nature-spirit dimension.
I have a question about video games and playing. I have friends that are video game designers and some friends that play video games a lot.
Yes.
Even if it is of your highest excitement in such ways,
if it really matches your highest excitement truly, then you will find that there will be benefit. If it doesn't, then there may be other effects. Okay. And you have to take it on a case-by-case, person-by-person basis. You cannot make a generalization out of it.
Interesting.